The term Disneyfication is defined by Webster's dictionary as the transformation, as of something real or unsettling, into a carefully controlled and safe entertainment or an environment with similar qualities. Basically, the idea behind Disneyfication is that something has become sanitized to the point of having no correlation with reality, slowly moving from a pointless distraction to a horrific deception that acts as a cover for a predatory society underneath. This idea seems to be most closely associated with the Disney parks, but the ethos of the parks comes from Disney himself. The unfortunate truth is that the name Disney has become detached from the man. Disney, in a lot of people's minds, represents something akin to Vought International from The Boys TV show, an evil corporation built on lies, indifferent to human suffering, and founded by a person who loves going to meetings. The real Walt Disney, however, while certainly a man of his time, was decidedly anti-fascist. Walt not only helped the Roosevelt administration fight against fascist influence in South America, after the attack at Pearl Harbor, the Disney studio lot in Burbank was requisitioned or occupied by the US Army as an anti-aircraft base. Rather than complaining, Walt and his staff pledged full support for the war effort. Over 90% of Disney's wartime production had some kind of pro-America message, whether it be training films, propaganda, public service films, or just pure entertainment. One such piece of entertainment was the 1943 short Chicken Little, a cartoon which almost single-handedly discredits the entire concept of Disneyfication. Based on the European folktale Henny Penny, the story is about a chick who gets hit with an acorn and thinks the sky is falling, leading to bad results for everyone who believes him. In the Disney adaptation, a community of animals live a peaceful life in the farmyard, kept safe by the fence, lock, and the farmer's shotgun. The narrator introduces us to the major players in the story. First, we have Foxy Loxy, the community leader or supervisor of egg production. Yeah, I bet he supervises. Then there's Henny Penny and the Rocking Chair Brigade, a group of gossipy busybodies. We also see the chickens over at Madame Poulette's beauty parlor. Next, we meet Turkey Lurkey and the Smart Set, evidently the local intelligentsia. After that, it's the Jitterbirds, basically teenagers or college kids who love to dance. And then Goosey Poosey, Ducky Lucky, and all the other ducks. Not only are these ducks barflies, but that cigarette looks very un-Disneyfied to me. Next, we meet the titular Chicken Little, who the narrator calls shy on brains but a good egg as chickens go. And finally, the villain, Foxy Loxy, the poultry fancier. Foxy takes a culinary interest in the farmyard's population and says he intends to get all of them. He declares he will use psychology and whips out a book on the subject, quoting, "To influence the masses, aim first at the least intelligent." Foxy quickly surmises that Chicken Little fits the bill and once again quotes from the book, saying, "If you tell him a lie, don't tell a little one, tell a big one." Something familiar about this, I'm not quite sure what it is. Foxy uses a broken plank from a wooden sign to fool the chick into thinking that a piece of the sky fell off and hit him on the head, saying to Chicken Little from behind the fence that he is the voice of doom and that the sky is falling. Chicken Little freaks out and runs all over town telling everybody the bad news. Chaos ensues until Foxy Loxy manages to make the people see reason, explaining that it was just a hunk of wood. Foxy realizes that Cocky will be a problem and reads another quote, "Undermine the faith of the masses in their leaders." Foxy impersonates one of the Rocking Chair Brigade, warning that if Foxy Loxy should be wrong, they'll all die. To the Smart Set, Foxy says that Foxy Loxy shows totalitarian tendencies, and tells them, "We can judge for ourselves whether the sky is falling or not." To the ducks, Foxy spreads rumors that Cocky is a drunk. Honestly, it's weird they'd even care about this. Word of Cocky's supposed dropping the ball reaches all over town, eventually finding its way to Cocky himself. Foxy reads another quote, "By the use of flattery, insignificant people can be made to look upon themselves as born leaders." Foxy gasses up Chicken Little, inspiring him to declare that the farmyard animals should listen to him. Cocky counters that if the sky is falling, why doesn't it hit him? Foxy then slingshots a wooden star right at Cocky's head, seemingly proving Chicken Little right. The rest of the animals panic and beg Chicken Little to tell them what to do. Having no ideas of his own, Chicken Little once again listens to the voice of Foxy, who tells him to head to the cave. Chicken Little repeats this, and the animals burst through the fence and hurry toward the cave, where Foxy seals them in with him. At this point, the narrator tells us not to worry, assuring us that, as one would expect, things will all turn out all right. We then fade through to see Foxy polishing off a wishbone, sticking it next to the others in the dirt in imitation of tombstones. The horrified narrator proclaims that this isn't right, and that's not the way it ends in my book. Foxy then responds, "Don't believe everything you read, brother." Oh my god. That's just... Oh my god. That's Chicken Little's yo-yo. He's dead. They're all dead. The most disturbing part is that the short actually ends with happy music, as if it didn't end the way that it did. It's like Natural Born Killers or something. The idea that kids actually went to theaters and watched this thing for fun is nuts. Then again, kids in the 40s were probably tougher. The original script for the short makes it clear that the psychology book Foxy reads from was initially going to be a copy of Mein Kampf. The script also shows several more overt bits of dialogue, such as Foxy saying Cocky has fascist tendencies instead of totalitarian. It's said that Walt decided on these changes because he felt overt references would quickly make the short dated after the war, and it's not clear whether these changes were made before or after the short was actually animated, as no known copies of this supposed original version have surfaced. Animator Milt Gray claimed to have seen this version at a Saturday matinee in the 1960s, presented along with other assorted Disney shorts, but this has never been confirmed. Shocking as the ending may be, I think it's a pity this short isn't on Disney+. Going back to the Brothers Grimm, who, by the way, did their own version of Chicken Little, kids used to be able to handle some dark stuff. Because kids, I promise you this, kids know it's not real. And the darkest thing in this short is not the grim, borderline Tales from the Crypt ending. No, the darkest thing here is how familiar all of this feels. Disney's decision to remove the overt references was correct, in my opinion, because looking at the short now, even if one does recognize the references to Mein Kampf, there is nothing dated about this situation. Without getting too specific, I'm sure we all know someone that we would consider a real-world counterpart for Foxy. No matter what your politics may be, it's obvious that the weak-minded are easily influenced by propaganda. The animals of the farmyard, separated by various social groups, all have one thing in common. They all lead lives of petty distraction. Such a life would be unthinkable in the wild, but within the confines of the farmyard, the animals are lulled into a false sense of security. But since the mind must always look for threats, it will invent enemies where none existed, often at the consequence of ignoring the real threat, just behind the fence. I'm going to get all pretentious for a second and quote Hamlet. "This is the imposthume of much wealth and peace that inward breaks, and shows no cause without why the man dies." Now, those of you who know the original fable might say, what's the big deal? Most versions of the story end with the fox eating the other animals anyway. And that's true, but one would expect Disney to change the ending. Maybe in the end, Cocky Loxy would wake up and alert the farmer, who would grab his shotgun and show that fox what happens when he tries that in a small town. Or maybe Chicken Little would get wise to Foxy's scheme and lead the other animals in a revolt. But that's not what happened in Germany, is it? The short was directed by Clyde Geronimi and animated by Milt Kahl, Norman Tate, Ward Kimball, Ollie Johnston, and John Lounsbury. The short is narrated by radio actor Frank Graham, who also does all of the voices. Florence Gill voiced all the chicken clucking sounds, while our old pal Clarence Nash handled the duck quacking. As I said before, the 1943 Chicken Little is not on Disney+, probably for a lot of reasons, but you can find it in the Walt Disney Treasures On the Front Lines DVD set, released in 2004. The short is also on Dailymotion and YouTube. Well, that was a fun one. I enjoy these kind of deep dives, or kind of like, videos on shorts that are somewhat more mysterious, where not all of the answers are known about them. And, this one is a little more clickbaity. I definitely tried to go, a little more in that direction with this one. What do you think? Well, what is your opinion? Does the short seem interesting to you? Have you seen the short? Do you want to see the short? Do you think the short should be on Disney+? Do you think it shouldn't? What are your perspectives on that? And what are your perspectives on art, which perhaps says one thing about, has one story in mind, up front, and has something underneath it, right, to say? What are your thoughts on shorts like that? Hope you enjoyed it. and I've got a new one coming out next week, hopefully. So stay tuned, and I am Parknarks. Woo!